My cat is 17 years old, and my friends all say I should put her to sleep. As long as she isn't in pain, I don't want to do that unless I have to. But how can you tell if a cat is in pain? So first of all, let me say that this person who wrote this question is exactly correct. Old age is not a disease. As long as this senior cat is still enjoying life, then there's no need to end it for her. But how can you tell if your pet's in pain? That's a good question, and we get asked that one a lot because the animals can't talk. So, how do we know for certain if they're in pain? They do have ways of letting us know. If you think about, for example, horses. When horses are in pain, a lot of people have seen this. They're restless, and they'll paw at the ground, and they'll look at the area that hurts, and they'll try and kick. Like if they have colic, if their stomach hurts, they'll kick at their stomach and look at their stomach and roll around in the dirt. Or sometimes just the way they stand with their head drooping. Or cows will grind their teeth. They kind of moan when they get up, and they take real shallow breaths. Or if you have a dairy cow, you can tell because their milk production drops when they're in pain. Or a lot of people have birds and know that birds will pluck their feathers if there's an area that hurts. Although birds are kind of crazy, sometimes they'll pluck their feathers just because they have behavioral issues. That's why I don't do birds. So back to dogs and cats. So how do we know if your dog or cat is in pain? And they will generally show a change in their behavior when they're uncomfortable. So, if you normally have an affectionate pet, it might get more irritable, or it might not like being held or being petted. Might just want to sit quietly and be left alone. And we'll have people say, well, my pet doesn't seem like they're in pain because they're not crying or they're not moaning or they're not making any noise. But honestly, if you think about it, we don't walk around moaning or crying. We don't. I'm sure there's a lot of older people who are painful when they're walking, but they aren't. Oh, or at least I hope they're not. So there's different types of pain. First of all, with arthritis pain, which definitely this senior cat could have, the most obvious sign is going to be a limp. And that's another thing that we'll hear. We'll hear people say, well, she's limping, but she doesn't act like she's in pain. But the limp equals pain. They're not going to be limping unless it's painful. So limping equals pain 100% of the time. But without a limp or a whimper, sometimes there'll just be subtle changes in their behavior. You might notice that your pet starts to sleep in new locations because it's too hard for them to, like maybe if they normally used to come upstairs and sleep with you, it's too hard for them to climb the stairs, or it's too hard for them to jump up on the couch or the bed, so they'll just sleep on the floor. And with cats in particular, you start to notice with older cats that they spend more time down lower on the ground so they don't have to jump from a really high perch. So if you have like one of those high cat trees and your cat used to spend time up there, used to live up there when it was younger, and now you notice it doesn't get up there anymore, that's probably because it hurts them to jump down. Or you might notice that your pet's sitting in a sort of an unusual way to protect a painful area. Everybody's sort of seen how young dogs, when they're happy, they kind of flop down on the ground. They want their belly rubbed. Or a happy cat will purr and knead and rub itself against you. So if your pet is having some arthritis pain, they're going to be much more cautious, and they're going to be slower getting up and sitting down because it hurts them. So, and some of us have older relatives who have chronic arthritis, and that pain can be irritating and it can be distracting. So they can be crabby. Sometimes grandma and grandpa are crabby, and the same is true of our older pets. You might have an animal who used to be really, really sweet, and now sometimes they snap or bite if you touch them suddenly. Or just to protect themselves, they might start to hide if the house gets really loud and hectic. They just kind of want to be away from quick-moving kids. And they're not trying to be mean. They're just worried that they're going to get hurt. And one other thing that you might see in an older pet with arthritis pain is a change in their bathroom habit. Sometimes it's difficult for them to get into that posture to urinate or defecate. So they'll hold it when they go outside, and then later when they come in, they have an accident in the house. So sometimes mistakes in the house are a sign of arthritis pain. And with cats in particular, if the rim of the litter box is too high and it's just too hard for them to get over it, they may go to where the litter box is, but go beside the box instead of going in the box. So that's just something else to think about with this older cat. Now with dogs, they might pant excessively. Even when it's not hot outside, you might notice them panting. Or they might rub or lick over a sore joint. And that doesn't mean, definitely most of the dogs we see that are licking or biting, it's because they have a skin condition or they have fleas. But if there's none of that going on and they have one joint that they just continuously lick over, it might be because it's in pain. With back pain, dogs sometimes will holler, they'll whimper a little bit when they get up. So one other common cause of pain that we see sometimes that I just want to mention is dental pain. And next month is dental month, so we're going to be talking more about dental disease and problems that we can see from that. But just sort of in general, pets that have dental pain are thin, and they're not thin because they're old. They're thin because it hurts them to eat, and they might have a matted, unkept coat just because it hurts them so much to groom. I had a 20-year-old cat in last week that had a tooth root abscess, and this cat's coat was just a mess. But this tooth root abscess was hurting, and he just couldn't groom me. They got a lick to groom, and it hurts. So, and cats will sometimes have this kind of chattering motion that they make with their mouth, or sometimes they'll even drool because their gums are so sensitive. So I think if you suspect that your pet might be in pain, just bring him in for an exam, and we'll look at him. If we find that we can remove this source of pain, we definitely will. And keep in mind that even with chronic pain like arthritis, there's good medications out there now that can help your pet not just lead a long life, but have a comfortable life and a happy life. So yeah, don't be afraid to bring him in, afraid that we're going to give you bad news, because we want to try and keep everyone alive and happy as long as we can. And just one final note I'm going to throw in here. Don't ever give your pet human pain medication unless your vet has recommended it, because a lot of those common over-the-counter painkillers like Tylenol can be really poisonous to certain pets, cats in particular.